All right, welcome back. My name is Chris Sachinelli, and I get to build, buy, and sell simple, profitable businesses every single day. And today, we're going to be filming our first video in almost a year, which is crazy. And we're going to be talking about the Bootstrapper community, this journey that we've been on. And I want to really tell the story around what we hope to be a very successful launch in terms of bringing this thing into fruition, right? So I got a lot to share. We're actually going to get to the tapes in a sense. I'm going to show you the data because we've been building this thing in public. We've been doing it as a community. It's been really fun, really exciting, and we're doing it with purpose. So hopefully you get to stay along and follow us. At the end, I promise there's going to be some value for you. In terms of introductions, if you're not familiar, my name is Chris Sachinelli. I do get to build, buy, and sell simple, profitable businesses every single day. I've been doing it for 10, 20 years now, where I bootstrap businesses. We build them to profitability. Sometimes we sell them. Sometimes we own them. A little holding company, a portfolio of companies that have been building for a long time. I am also the founder of Bootstrapper Capital, which is kind of like my mainstay day-to-day, where we run all the businesses inside of our portfolio. And we're focused on creating the most affordable and flexible source of capital, bootstrapper friendly source of capital available on the market, right? So that's our kind of big North Star in terms of what we're focusing on right now. When I ask myself, should we do something? I ask myself, well, is this going to help us get closer to providing the most affordable, the most flexible source of capital for bootstrappers, or is this kind of a distraction taking us away? So I quite literally use that as my North Star with everything we do. And about a year ago, I filmed a video talking about a thesis that we had at the time, right? So let's rewind us. Let's take us back a year, right? This is actually a screenshot of the YouTube that I recorded 11 months ago, which is kind of crazy, talking about this shift in perspective, right? So ChatGPT just came out. I hit the mainstream market. I mean, AI has been around for a while, but it went mainstream big, right? Like it was like a paradigm shift for everybody. Like, whoa, what's going to be the future? And when we saw it, like what happens when things get, innovation takes place or there's a shift in the landscape, you got to ask yourself, especially as entrepreneurs, what's the impact going to be, right? What's the impact going to be on our portfolio, the way we think? You change your perspective, you change your approach. What do we need to change, right? How is this going to impact us? We asked ourselves, what's the impact going to be? And we answered, likely, right? Likely the proliferation of AI is going to make content creation really simple, right? Really easy. It's going to likely make search engine optimization or traffic to your sites or your product difficult, because it's likely going to disrupt that because they're usually going to be inundated with so much, or it's going to be difficult in terms of or change the way we search, right? So if that's the case, unless people are getting traffic, then they're going to need to go someplace else. Social channels will probably go where people go next, because if you can't search for it, it's kind of like ask a friend in a sense. And social feeds are probably going to become pretty warped and not necessarily as valuable, because people are now trying to get customers by, posting more social, more kind of founder-led type content or thought authorities type of thing. So then people are going to put money into paid spend, and paid spend, the rates are just going to go through the roof because supply demand. And we felt like because of all these things, our shift in thesis should be the focus in terms of where we want to build the portfolio and focus on winning over the next 3 to 5 years should be around audience and distribution, right? Because it's like whoever can spend the most to acquire a customer over the longest period of time typically wins in business, right? That's audience and distribution. And when we think about audience and distribution, the thought that we had was owned audience and distribution, meaning owned being like something that you own, not borrowed, right? So when you're building on social platforms or things that other people own the keys to, those are borrowed audience. We want to own it. The way we own it would be emails, because you can always send to that list. So we wanted to focus on distribution through newsletters. And that was our key focus. That's what this video was about a year ago. And then the other thing that we talked about was the concept of community and a community container, right? But everything starts somewhere. And where we wanted to start was newsletters. So the action we took, what we did was we went out and we acquired a whole bunch of newsletters, which was cool for me. I never bought a newsletter before. Well, I think I bought a newsletter maybe 10 years ago or 20 15 years ago or so. But this was the first time I actually looked at the market and was like, let me buy some newsletters. Like, let me do deals. Not really a well-established market, I found out. It was kind of, it was different. It was interesting. I talk about it in this video in terms of our experience. I also did some other videos on it. But we ended up acquiring a whole bunch of smaller newsletters, and we just rolled them up, right? Which is really just kind of like put them together, and we made a larger newsletter. And they were all in similar, niches and audiences. And then we were able to introduce ourselves to it. So this is a video that we shot talking about that strategy. And then we ran with it. And, obviously it was important because there was purpose, right? We had a why. And when you have a why, you tend to follow your why, you commit to it a little bit better, put your heart into it, and you get better results. For us, we started with sending it on a weekly basis when we did the integrations, and we were integration meaning like rolling them up and putting them together. And then once we kind of found our audience, like found, the fact that people were, willing to read these newsletters and the open rates were there, we then started to pick up, and we were doing a daily newsletter, and we wanted this thing to be tremendous value. Because A, it was important to us, and B, we wanted to make sure that anybody we were introducing ourselves to got a ton of value from this. So we took all of the things that we did for ourselves, right? So we focused on structure, strategy, and accountabilities to get to simple, profitable outcomes. Like that's our thesis, is you focus on structure. It takes away, not knowing what to do, right? Strategy equals focus. Structure, this is like what to do. Strategies is the how to do it. And then accountability is get it done, get to the outcomes, right? So we take our structures and our strategies and we start to share it in what I believe to be really actionable forms, where it would be content up front and then like templates, like take this and run with it at the bottom, like almost like a teach, train, equipped style newsletter. And I thought it was really cool. I put a lot of passion into it, to be perfectly honest. I wanted this to be an awesome product for a lot of people. And we saw the numbers trend up. Now, these are inflated numbers because I'm using growth strategies too, right? I'm not just like, this is an organic growth thing. I'm growing this thing. We grew it to around 60,000 or so subscribers, and we took off the pedal from acquisition, and we let the list settle itself out. So people were unsubscribing, etc. And then in January, we cleaned it all up. And we got ourselves to a stabilized pretty much 50,000 subscribers, of which maybe 12 or so thousand open on a consistent basis of 90% or more. So it's a really healthy list. I've had a ton of enjoyment in terms of running this and executing this. It's been really great in terms of building. And I experienced a loss. So in January, we went from sending a daily newsletter, right, to then running a poll, and we asked the audience to vote, like, hey, would you guys get more value from keeping it a daily news? Because like daily sends is a lot, right? That's a big lift. It's a big lift for us. It's also a big lift for your inbox. So we were like, would you prefer it to be on a weekly rate? And it was a close poll. It was actually really close. But weekly did win out. So we did what the audience wanted, and we went with a weekly. And then in doing with a weekly, what I personally experienced was this like void, because going from a daily to weekly, I saw a huge turn down in engagement, and not engagement like opens, but like conversational engagement, like people reaching out to me, and, kind of like the intrinsic value that comes from doing something with such a large audience. So I was like, man, I kind of just put it out there. I literally wrote a newsletter. I was feeling this. And I was like, should we run a community, right? Like if we're not going to get it here because we're going to keep on this weekly send rate, should we launch our own little community and maybe foster more engagement, like actually foster more of a build in public or co-accountability of taking these structures that I think people are enjoying getting. I think we're delivering a lot of value. And then like facilitate the path to utilization of this stuff. And when I sent that out, I thought it was going to be crickets. I thought like maybe 30 people would get back. And I opened up my phone, and I checked the app, I checked the poll that we use to send this stuff. We use Beehive, and like 1,000 people replied to the poll. And I think it was definitely under an hour I don't want to give, say it was 12 minutes or whatever, but it was definitely under an hour that many folks responded back. And I was like, man, this may be something here, which is super cool because the plan was always to be able to bring it back to community. We launched a handful of communities over the years because, again, this community container model is pretty cool to us. But when I saw the interest there, I was like, man, let's lean into this. Like 1,000 votes. All right, we're onto something. But like, how are we going to do this differently? How are we going to pull this off? Because previous communities we launched, it was difficult. It was like a really significant kind of resource drain in terms of like my team's time and my time to support it. So I knew this time if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right? Trust the process, commit to the journey, and you're learning, always be learning, make simple bets, always be optimizing. I knew that people needed to like really support this with more than just dollars, but also their effort, energy, and their why, right? Getting involved. So the second poll was like, who would help out? And 200 people, which is amazing, don't get me wrong, 200 amazing people raised their hand and said, we will help out, which was super cool to me. But I mean, that's coming down from 1,000. So I'm like, all right, maybe I don't know where the interest is going to be at. We should probably set some target numbers in terms of what we need to be able to actually do this thing and commit to it. Those are the internal conversations that are happening. And I'm like, but it's still happening. What about pricing though? Because even though people are interested in it, where rubber tends to meet road, especially when you're in a GTM, especially when you're finding the product market fit, you're making sure that there's actually value alignment. It's usually when people have to pay, when they vote with their credit card is when the real vote takes place. It's really easy to click a button. It's a little bit more of a lift to get somebody to take out their credit card and actually pay for something. Payment typically means, value, right? Perceived value, right? So we're trying to really validate the perceived value in this third poll. So this is now 3 weeks in the making, right? Each week we're building and sharing as a community, as an audience. And when I put this poll together, if you asked me, I would have been like, man, first of all, the last poll had 200 votes. I was like, man, maybe 50 people or less are going to vote on this poll. Who's voting about pricing? And I was like, man, this may be the moment where we pull the plug on this. And if people do vote, the 50 people that vote, I'm like, they're going to want it for free, which was one of the options. It was like, pay it forward type of thing. We believe in affordability and accessibility at Bootstrapper Capital. So we thought maybe this becomes a free community. And then when I saw the number one vote coming back being $99, which was the highest paid plan, at first I was like, man, maybe we should have tested the waters with a higher price point and seen what people said. But I was like, man, $99 a month. Okay. Okay, that's something. But are we sure that we actually need this? Right. So I was definitely surprised by the 99. And I was surprised that, almost 500 people voted for, pricing, which was up double from the week before. So we're trending back up to the engagement levels of like, okay, let's be interested in this. And then I was like, do we really need this? Like all the doubt, right? The seeds of doubt get sowed. And, as entrepreneurs, I'm sure you know this and you feel this, like it's the imposter syndrome. It's the, am I good enough? Do people really want what I'm putting out there? Will this thing fail? Right? All the doubt, all the bad thoughts, all the things that sometimes prevent us from just taking action, right? Started to come in because we're human, right? And it's all, life is a real thing. It's all part of the journey. And I'm like, man, we're going to do this. It's not going to work. People don't really want this, right? Why do you need another community? I think I said earlier in this video, I saw this trend of newsletters a year ago, and we were definitely early into identifying that newsletter trend. B, we're seeing this trend, and I think it's going to continue to be a trend 2024, 2025 of communities. And you're definitely seeing a lot of folks that used to be like, more digital marketers, they would create a course or something like that. Nothing wrong with it, right? Especially if they're creating value. But a lot of that type of model was shifting to this community thing because Sam Ovens was school, and then Alex Hormozy's coming in, and there's this new trend in a bubble. And what was newsletters is now community, and you're capturing subscriptions because SaaS is dying, because AI is messing with that. And like there's all these shifts and changes and trends in the market, which we love. I definitely nerd out on it all the time. I love it because this is all we do, right? We quite literally live this every single day, and we focus on it from Bootstrapper Capital's perspective on simple profitable outcomes, right? So we're profit led. Everything we do is profit led. The businesses we're involved with profit led, right? Everything is kind of like a profit led purpose. And then we put our money where our mouth is, literally, like it's my money for the most part. And we do what we say and we practice what we preach. So we're really in this world. And it's not just digital businesses and remote businesses that we work with. We work with pretty much any business that's non venture backed to the point where they're just running and pulling the venture, casino lever of like infinite money or whatever the case is. Like where anybody who's building on a budget, and has to build a business with discipline and purpose and intention, and trying to build actual value and equitable value to it. That's what we work with. And our portfolio at Bootstrapper Capital and my holdco is all designed to support folks who are building, profit-led businesses. All right. So I'm like, why do we need another community? Do we really need another community? Like, what's our, like, why? Is it really something that we're doing, or are we just doing it to do it? And I don't want to do it to just do it. I want to do it because I care about it and I believe in it, and I want other people to believe in it too. And I see this value of like what we could do with this community. I believe that we can, create accessibility to more resources. We can create connections, like community connections, connections being with each other, connections being with subject matter experts, connections being with solutions partners through an ecosystem that we can continue to build through the Bootstrapper ecosystem so that people have the right resources at the right time to get to the right outcomes. Because what we found is, even through our advisory business, right? So Simple Profits is our advisory business. When we work with businesses, whether it's like an SMB, brick and mortar, or if it's a remote, a remote first business or a SaaS, we find that for the most part, everything starts with a plan. And even when people get a plan, right, to unlock value and build a more valuable business, which is what we do, and we decide to be the best at, right, building wedge equity, what we find is even when folks have a plan, you don't typically execute the plan if you get in your own way, which becomes the top constraint, which is capacity, right? You are your own worst enemy in executing the plan, which is I don't have the time to do it, or I don't have the know-how to do it. So from that lens, we built the ecosystem where, okay, let's find the right people who actually do know how to do this stuff, and we'll plug them in, and then we'll get, we can execute the plan and we can get to these outcomes. And then the second typical constraint or excuse that comes up in that process is capital. It's like, I don't have the money to pay for these partners. So that's where Bootstrapper Capital historically has come in, and we'll say, okay, well, fine, we'll finance it for you. And it's difficult for us because of the size of deals that we do. Right now, a lot of people do deals in our market or the size or scope. A lot of folks are like, it's easier to write a $1 million check than it is to write a $10,000 check. And it's not worth a lot of folks' time. For us, we care, right? And we also know it very well, and we're passionate about what we do. But, there's costs associated with doing things, like diligence is a real cost. I just believe that, as a community, we could solve a lot of problems. And by solving a lot of problems, including like community diligence, more of a collaborative experience, I think that we can create a better version of everything that does support accessibility and flexibility, to affordable solutions and for affordable resources to build better together. So I do believe that we can do this as a community. And I do believe that there's value, and I believe that there's purpose. And when I put this poll out there and I saw that 1,000 folks agreed, and what we agreed on is number one choice being ownership, education via ownership. That fits so perfectly with what we do at my holding company, right? So all the businesses we buy, we have operators in, and the operators have, it's an equitable ownership, right? It's quite literally education through ownership. You learn more by doing, realistically. Get in and do it. Like, get structure, strategy, accountability, get the outcomes, right? So it's true to true what we do and what we believe in. And when I saw that other people care about that too, I'm like, man, we could take this community and we can actually run like a Reg C or a Reg CF or a Reg A and or crowdfunding, and we can actually give it back to folks. We could have community with a purpose, right? Make members owners, right? And we're learning together. We build in public. I think that would be super cool. I don't think anybody's really ever done that before. And asterisk, 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 making sure everything's legal and got to go through the attorneys and everything like that to make sure that we can, from a regulatory perspective. So this is in no way, shape, or form a promise of that. It's an idea. I think it would be very cool to have education be ownership. And then the second most popular thing was this community fund concept, which is so on point with what we're doing and what we intend to do and what we want to do with Bootstrapper Capital. We'll waive our management fees. We'll put this fund together. It'll be a community-based fund, and then we'll invest the capital in the community, build in public, and everybody gets to share, learn from it, get to use it. I think it'll be a very virtuous cycle that we could build. So when I saw this, I was like, all right, seed of doubt starting to quell, confidence going up really, really high. Let's freaking do this. Let's do this. All right. But what about the benefits? Why should people get involved? So we got the bigger why, but what about the selfish why, the personal why? And I'm like, there should be something in it for everybody who does it, especially early. You're taking more risk. You're going to get involved with something that's not really fully baked, fully built, even though kind of pull back curtain, it kind of is, right? I've already written, those of you that don't know, I wrote the book on bootstrapping. Bootstrapping, is so important to me. I wrote the book on it, type of thing. 400 pages, everything I've learned over 20 years of building profitable businesses. Created this journal, which is the Cliff Notes version of the book. And you can actually write in it, and it walks you through the investopreneur's journey, which is a less risky approach to capitalism. It's how do you take risk off the table? And then because we have the advisory, we do all this stuff ourselves. We created this workbook, which is most of what we do to build a plan with our clients on advisory, and we formalize that. So there's a lot of resources already designed, developed, written, created. We'll be able to put those into the community in the form of boot camps, so Bootstrapper boot camps, which will be super cool. We'll create value, we'll host events, we'll teach, train, equipped, and it will all be about connections, community connections and capital, as we teach, train, and then equipped, right? Teach it through content, experiences, train it through the boot camps, equip it through connections to ecosystem partners and capital. So I think we could do something really, really, really cool. And when I saw the fact that on this poll, the first one was 1,000, the next one was 200, then we doubled to 400, then we went back up to 1,000, and now this is the fifth one, and it's over 2,000 people voted yes on a single poll. I'm like, all right, we're definitely going to do this. We're going to do it successful. But at the end of the day, we need people to vote, and we can't just vote with a thumb. We need to vote with money. We need people to pull out their credit card, vote with their dollars, and say, let's make this thing happen. Let's make this a reality. Let's do it together. You get more by giving than by taking, right? Everything starts somewhere. So let's start here. Let's start now. Let's build better together, which is what we're going to focus on inside of this community, where people can bootstrap a better life by building and buying profit-first businesses, right? That's our focus. That's who we're going to build this for. We're going to make it easy or simple, hopefully. We're definitely going to focus on making it affordable. We want to make it flexible in terms of access, making it accessible to the right solutions at the right time to be able to accomplish this, right? That's everything we're going to be focusing on, right? So if you're interested in becoming a founding member, please do. There's going to be benefits for you as a founding member. We're going to come, pretty much all of the perks that were tied to that last poll, we're going to offer. And then as we get people coming in and supporting, again, this is really big for us. This is a year in the making of just making sure that we can even start the right way, start right, finish right, right? I want to start right. If we can't start right, if we can't get to traction, then we're not going to do this. So the first goal that we have, and we're going to build with goals. We're going to build with goal lines, right? We're going to do this 5 yards at a time to get to the first, 10 yards at a time to get to the first down. 10 yards, every 10 yards, you get to the touchdown. Every touchdown, you get to the game. Every game, you get to the Super Bowl. Every Super Bowl, you get to the dynasty, right? We're going to do this systematically, small parts, bite-sized parts, and we're going to do it together, right? So the first goal that we have is let's get to 100 founding members. Let's get to 100 founding members willing to take the first leap, vote with their credit card. We're going to make it risk mitigated. We're going to have all these different various launch offers that we're going to put out there to see, what resonates the most in terms of interest. We're going to continue to build this thing in public because that's what we do. Our entire portfolio we're building in public. You can follow along. We're going to do inside the community too, make it even better. in terms of that process. It's been, you've literally experienced us doing it in this video today. It is just what we do. So we're going to make this a really awesome experience in the launch. We're going to put together different types of offers, hopefully get folks to the point. We want to get people involved in getting to this first goal line of getting 100. So once you do sign up, you're going to get a toolkit, like a launch pack, for founding members. It will be early access to the community, a much more stripped down and refined version of the community. And then you'll get access to the affiliate portal, where you can have your own affiliate link. And if you share and you get people involved, you get rewarded. We're going to have bonus commissions for folks that are founding members. It's going to be a 50% commission on first transaction and then 25% for life. So it's a pretty cool opportunity to be able to help. You get more by giving than by taking. We get to that 100 mark, we're going to go live. If we don't get to the 100 mark, anybody who participated, we're going to allow to vote. You can either get out or you can stay in. And if we have enough people that want to keep this going, then we'll continue to launch it. But if we don't, then we're just going to give everybody back their initial pledge kind of dollars, right? So the vote with your dollars type of thing is $3. We're going to give that back, and we're just going to kind of put this on the shelf until we can figure out a better way to do it, make it more valuable and more successful, right? Because we want to commit to making sure that we can trust the process, commit to the journey. And for us, the commitment is you guys. It starts with you. When we do this successful, right? So now we're talking about when we do this successful, when we get to 100 members, the very next goal we're going to have is to give out 10,000 books. So we're already working with sponsors, with partners in our ecosystem. So folks that provide the solutions that help you build better businesses, right? That help you get to simple, profitable outcomes. We're working with the solution providers, the folks that we have relationships with, that we know do really great work that actually delivers the value to get to the outcomes. And we're getting them to sponsor the community. And the sponsorship is going to be giving away, we want to give away 10,000 books, so that in giving away 10,000 books, we can get 1,000 members, founding members, into the community. From 1,000 members, the why behind it, 1,000 members of enough proof of concept of traction, that there's actually something going on here, that will be able to raise the proof of concept fund, the community fund, right? So 1,000 members gets us to a proof of concept fund. And then once we raise the proof of concept fund and we deploy, we'll probably set the next goal line of either deploying $1 million of capital or maybe a monthly MRR and tying it to ownership. We'll then do the community ownership. We'll give the community back to its members. We'll do education via ownership. And those are going to be our goal lines that we build for. We're going to do this stuff in public, so everybody will experience it. We'll do it together, right? We'll do it with purpose. There'll be a why behind it. We'll be successful in doing it. And hopefully in the process, we all benefit from it so that we can truly build better together and bootstrap a better life, because it's absolutely possible. But it does, it takes a community, hopefully, to make this happen. Hopefully we're all a part of it. If you watched this long, appreciate it. Till next time.